Today I'm going to show you my custom order form on my real estate photography website. Now, every time I make a new iteration of this order form, I generally do a video. The last few times I haven't. The difference between this one and the previous ones is that I'm starting essentially a brand new business in a brand new city. It's still real estate photography. It's more focused on luxury real estate, and I wanted this form to be a little bit more involved. Now, the service that I use for my online ordering system is called Paperform. You may have heard me talk about this in the past. You can get a link to Paperform in the description, and that will help me out. But Paperform was originally designed to be just a form builder for websites. But a few years back, a few friends of mine in the real estate photography business were using Paperform for their ordering system. I essentially took that idea. This is back in, I think, 2017, 2018. And I kind of ran with it and built all these things. The nice thing about Paperform, and we'll get into this, is that it has conditional formatting or conditional logic. So kind of like if this, then that scenarios. So if they select photography, it'll show you the different photography options you have. We'll get into it again. There's a lot of, a lot of nuances in here, but full disclosure, this took me about 2 full days to build, and I've been building these forms for years, so I'm very familiar with the interface. If you're going to build a form that's as complex as what I'm building, it's going to take you a long time. Also, in the past, every time I post these videos, people go to my website and they submit orders to test it out. I need to stop that from happening, so I am not going to disclose what my website is, so you can't go find it. This is not my regular business. This is a brand new business, and I'm not going to talk about that because I want to avoid false orders. That said, I will put a clone of this in the description so you can go test it out if you want. You can use that form just for testing. But once you get to Paperform, you can go and you can dig around and see what all Paperform offers, the different pricing options. I'm currently on the Pro version. This is pretty much good for the majority of accounts. You could probably get away with the Essentials version, but I stick to the Pro version. Now let me first show you what my order form looks like when it's all completed, and then we'll go into the back end to show you how the thing was built. So when you come to the website, again, I'm not showing you the actual website, this is just the form itself. This can be embedded into a website, so it'll essentially look just like this. So I offer 3 different services for my luxury real estate photography business: photography, video, and virtual tours. For the time being, I'm probably going to do away with virtual tours at some point. So the way it works is, again, whatever they select, it's going to populate different options available to them. So let's just start with the basics. Almost every single client is going to want to do photography, so we'll start with photography. So if you select photography, it's going to populate the different photography options available to them. I have an option for 20 photos, 35 photos, or 50 photos. We're not going to get into pricing today. I charge $300, $400, and $500 for these. You might not charge that much. You might charge more. This video is not about pricing. That's a whole separate conversation. So that said, let's just say they select 35 photos for $400. Once I select that, it's going to populate other add-ons for real estate photography. You'll also notice down here that the total price that they select is populating. So if they switch to 50 photos, it's automatically going to adjust to $500. So we'll go back to 35 photos just for the sake of being in the middle. And then they have add-ons that they can select. So they can do neighborhood photos, floor plans. If they want to rush the delivery and I can deliver them within 4 hours, it's another $100. If they want to do lifestyle portraits, like if they want to come in and get a couple headshots for the social media, we can do that. Drone photography, twilight photos. Now, all of these things are important because, again, I mentioned this whole conditional logic thing. And what that means is basically whatever you select, a different option will pop up. So if they select neighborhood photos, for example, it'll ask them how many they want to order. So 3, 4, I think they can do up to 10. And then you can see the price adjusting down below as I do this. So let's just say they want 3. And then they're going to get this box that pops up to ask for details on the neighborhood photos that they want. So let's just say park on Main Street and Best Buy and train station, whatever. Just so that they know, just so we know what specifically they want us to shoot. I don't have product descriptions on these because the types of clients I work with, if they don't know what any of these services are, I don't want to work with them, to be honest with you. But if I do get a brand new agent, I do have an option to view the product descriptions. I just want it hidden. I don't want it in the way and cluttering up the space. they select floor plans, it's going to populate this, what size of the is the house that we're going to be covering. So I use Kubicasa. There's a link to Kubicasa. It's not an affiliate link. It's just a Kubicasa. I believe in their service. They have a great service. Floor plans. As you can see, as you select these, the price will change at the bottom. Let's just say it's a 6,000 square foot house. Rush delivery. There's no additional options for this. Let's just say they're going through the order and they change their mind. No, I don't need a floor plan. They just click off that and it'll remove that total from the thing below. If they click it, it'll go back on. You get the idea. So we'll go ahead and we'll hit next, and it's going to bring them to my terms and conditions. Now the terms, I have it set up to where they have to sign it every single time. Now we hear a lot of conversation about whether or not to use contracts or not. When you do an online order form like this, it's a no-brainer. They can just quickly sign this. It can be as sloppy as they want. Hit the check mark. It'll upload it to my server, and you'll see later how we use this. But it's got all the different terms that I have for my business, okay? Once they hit next, they can fill out the agent details. So let's just say, we're just gonna make up some information here. So John Smith. I'm gonna use my personal email address, and I'm gonna blur it out so you can't email me, but just so you can see what happens after submission. Okay, and then best phone number, we'll just put a fake phone number in here. And I already have the country populated. Now the calendar feature. This is really nice because this is automatically synced up with my calendar. So whatever they select, it's going to get added to both my calendar and it will send them a calendar invite. I'll show that to you later. So just to recap, we had ordered just photography, 35 photos, neighborhood photos, rush delivery. Now here's what happens when they select a date. So let's just say they want to do December 20th. It's going to populate all the different times that are available to them that I predetermined. So I can predetermine what time slots are available to them based on the services that they select. So let's experiment with this a little bit. Again, this was just photography and a couple add-ons. I can do all of those in about 2 hours. But let's say they want to add twilight photography to their order. If they come back and do twilight photography, you can see it adds the price down at the bottom, but it also gives me different availability. And when I click on any of these dates, it only gives me one time slot, the last time slot of the day, 4 to 6 p.m. That way, I'm not shooting the house during the morning and having to come back to do twilight photos. If they order twilight, they only have the option to order my last time slot of the day. I'm not messing around with all that. Same with video. Let's say if they, let's say they don't order twilight, but they want to add photos and video. If you remember back when they selected photography only, I got to select the video option. If they selected photography only, it gave them multiple time slots, like 4 or 5 different time slots throughout the day. If they select photography and video, not only does it limit their time slots to 2, it only gives them 2 different options because I want to shoot video either early in the day, in the early morning, or later in the afternoon. So they can either do 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. or 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. And that's every single day that it's available. So if they look at, like, these are the only days they would be able to schedule that. Okay? So let's say they do that. They select that. This is basically a summary of the order, and this is also going to be the email summary that they receive from the calendar invite, and you'll see that in just a minute. So it gives you a recap of the services order. This is exactly what they're going to see in their email, by the way, in their calendar invite. All the different notes, if they did like a real estate film, how much they cost, all their administrative details, and whatever email address is where they're going to get the calendar invite sent to. And then it'll show them the photo shoot total. There is some kind of bug right now that I haven't quite figured out. When they get the email, they're not going to see the total in there, and I don't know why it does that. But I've got other things to take care of that. As you can see, the order total is confirmed right below. What happens is if they don't, like let's just say they paid for 35 photos, but I only shoot 30, I will credit their account for those 5 photos that they didn't shoot, and they can apply that to the next photo shoot, but I'm not going to issue any refunds. I want them to pay in advance within 24 hours of submitting the order. Once I get that all set up, the email that they receive is going to have a payment link, and it needs to be received or I'm going to cancel the shoot. And that is in my terms. So again, once they submit their order, they will be routed back to my website, which I'm not going to show because I don't want people going there. After a couple minutes, they're going to receive 2 emails. One of them is going to be an order summary along with a makeshift receipt. And then once I get the payment system set up, they're going to have a payment button. They'll be able to go directly to my invoice that's generated. They're also going to get a PDF copy of the order details, which this is their signature. So they have that for their records, and they also have a copy of my terms and conditions that they signed. They'll also receive an email that is a calendar invite from my Google Calendar. The nice thing about this is like I said, it shows you, and we saw this in the order form itself, it shows a preview. It shows all the administrative details. Again, there's that bug where it doesn't show the total. I need to figure that out. The nice thing is that it also shows on my phone, on my calendar. It pops up automatically, and I can actually manage it from here as well. So now that you've seen a brief overview of how my order form works, let's go in the back end of Paperform and show you how you build one of these things. Now, again, this took me a couple days to build, and for your first time building one, it's going to take a lot longer if you want to build something robust. But it doesn't take a long time to build something simple, and you can just build on it from there. And the nice thing is once you embed it to your site, it'll automatically update on your site with any changes that you make. So you can put something basic up for the time being and just build on that over time as it goes. And of course, you can always go in and change the code if you need to start over from scratch. So once you go into Paperform and you go into the dashboard, you just go to create a form, and it gives you a bunch of different templates you can select. I personally like, and you can browse through those and see what's available to you. I personally like starting from scratch because I want mine to be minimal, and I don't like a whole bunch of distractions and things in my way. So I'm only going to show you a very basic form to set up. So we'll go ahead and start from scratch. So it's a blank canvas to start with. And Paperform offers you 3 different options to get started with. You can add a video, you can add a picture, you can add a page break, which we'll talk about in a minute, or you can add questions. And a question is basically any field that populates. So this row here is considered a question. This is considered a question. All of this is considered a question. Basically any section, even this product description, is considered a question. It's probably not the best choice of description of words, but it works. The other option, if you don't want to add a question, you can just start typing. You can make this like a header section. So we'll just say select, we'll do it all in caps, select your services. And you have some basic formatting options. You can do H1, H2 for your different header sizes, bold, italic, basic formatting. And we're not going to get into this today, but you can also adjust all the different details of the theme. So you can adjust your fonts and all that stuff, your colors. So we'll just select this. We'll do maybe a center it. We'll do H1. We'll do H1 header, so it's bold. That's what H2 looks like. Again, these are the default settings. And then from there, we can go ahead and go on to the next. You just have to imagine that there's invisible lines here. So let's just add a question, and we'll go select what service you want. Select your services. And you have a bunch of different options. You can make this any type of question that they have available here. You can do text, email, URLs. It doesn't matter. For this case, we're going to do multiple choice, okay? And we're going to give that, so what we're basically saying is select your services. They're going to have different choices that they can make. In this case, we're going to basically do what I did on my form, and we're going to give them the choice of photography, video, or virtual tours. So as you can see, you go down here, choice 1, we'll say photography, choice 2, and basically just add a different line. Adding a different line gives you a different product, or different option, video, and we'll say virtual tours. And if you scroll down, it'll give you a preview of what that currently looks like, okay? If you want to add images, you can select this, and it'll give you an option to add images. I just happen to have my images still saved from my previous form, so we'll just select a couple of those. And I actually don't have my image saved for the virtual tour, so we'll just go ahead and delete that option for now just so it doesn't look sloppy. Whoops. So they just have 2 options, photography and video, okay? And you can do some more customizations, like how many columns do you want this to be? Just 1 column is fine. You can include another option if you want. So we'll go ahead and do that. And what this ends up looking like is like this. They have 2 different options. So I don't like how this is stacked, all right? So we'll go back to the form and we'll edit. Go back to the settings here. And there was that option about columns. I'll say I want this to be 2 columns actually so that they're side by side. We'll save that, open that back up, and it gives us 2 columns. All right, so let's just say they select photography and they hit submit. We don't want to do that yet because we didn't tell it to do anything once you hit submit, so it'll pretty much just sit there. So let's just say they select photography and or video. but nothing else populates. So what do we want to happen? So maybe let's say we offer two different types of photography, HDR or flash. So we can add another question, and let's just say we want to create two different types of photography and put some prices on there. So we can say HDR photography and flash photography, for example. So we're going to add a product this time, and we're going to go to our products, and we're going to call this one HDR. We're going to price that at $150, and you can add custom SKUs if you want. And then you can add a second product. We'll call this flash photography, and we'll price this at $200. Again, you can add a custom SKU if you want. And this is what it'll look like as of right now. It'll basically show up as a list, and when you select one of these, the price will populate below like it does on my form. You can hide the prices if you want to, or you can keep them on there. It doesn't really matter. It'll still populate at the bottom. You have three different options. You can do either list view, card view, or gallery view, where this is where you can add a picture, and it'll show you an example of what that looks like. For now, we're just going to go ahead and select the list option, and you can select how you want it to appear on a mobile device as well. So we've got our products set up. Now we just need to tell this when to populate. So if we were to just go back now, we didn't really, hold on a second. Let's add so let's go back to this page, and we'll add what this is called. We'll just call it what type of photography would you like to order? Okay, and we'll save that, and we'll preview it. And as you can see, that option is now in here. Now, let's say they selected video. Well, they didn't select photography, so these shouldn't be here. So this is where this whole conditional logic comes in. So we'll go back into the settings for this question, and we'll set it to only populate if they select photography. So we'll go to question visibility logic. We'll turn that on. What question that we want this to appear on, and it's when they select your services and they choose photography. We don't want it to show up when they say video, so we're just going to do photography. We'll go back to the editor, we'll save it, we'll preview it, and as you can see, it does not populate anymore. If we hit video, it doesn't show up, but if we hit photography, it shows up. Select the different button, and you can see the price fluctuating down here. And that is everything in a nutshell. Again, this program is so robust. There's so many nuances, so many details, but you get the gist of what you can do, and you can only build it from here as far as your creativity will take you. That said, I'm going to go ahead and take you into my brand new order form for my new photography business in my new city, which is a whole other video. We'll talk about that later. So now that you've seen the back end of what a basic form looks like, this is what one looks like that's completely built. I'm just going to scroll through this really quick so you can see there's a lot of details in here. And it looks intimidating, but again, it's just like anything else. Just like you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. You just build the thing over time, and eventually you've got your form. And just a quick refresher as to what my form looks like. So every time you select something, different options pop up and disappear and all that stuff. Okay. Anyway, so we're just going to quickly go through this. Again, I'm not going to go into details because it would just take too long. But this is essentially what we did. The same exact thing. Select the services you want. And I've got all those same things set up like I did before. Photography, virtual tour, video. Got my things there. Now I mentioned that we would talk about page breaks in a little bit. Page breaks are essentially telling the form when you want things to start populating. So if you want them to populate on the same page or on a different page. So for example, when you go back to my order form, you can see that it doesn't go to my terms right away because that is on a next page. So those page breaks tell Paperform to say, don't show my terms on this page, show it on the next page. And the reason I do that is because I want this pricing button to always show up on the screen. And if you have too much on there, it won't show it until you get to the page break, okay? So again, we just start building the things we want to. I've got my photography option selected. So again, if they go back and they select photography, this is what shows up for them. And this is what that section looks like on the back end. So luxury photography, these are products. They come in here. And I have all my different products set up with the SKUs and everything. And the reason you might want to have SKUs is if you want to integrate this with QuickBooks or one of your other services, or if you want to track all this stuff with spreadsheets, it's nice to have SKUs for accounting purposes. And it'll give you a quick preview of what these look like. All right. And I have the visibility logic set up on this, which is when untitled is photography, then show this form. And so as we go down the list, I'm just going to scroll kind of slowly. You can see all the different questions that we have here, and they're different categories. So text. So this is the neighborhood photo details. So again, if they select the option to do neighborhood photos, I want them to be able to enter text here. And that is what this field is here. You can see it's a text field. And I basically just said how many lines of text should this be. That basically just says how big I want the box to appear. Three lines worth. Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory once you get in here. If I wanted to add another question to this, I just say add question and it populates. We don't want the one though, so I'll delete that. And everything else is pretty self-explanatory. Now, if we scroll down even further, I've got my terms set up. There's my signature field. And one thing I want to show you is this appointment thing. Now, I mentioned earlier that based on the services they select, it's going to populate different availability. So as you can see, I've got multiple calendars here. I've got 8 set up right now. I could set up as many as I want to basically adjust based on what they select. So this is my, and as you'll notice, I don't have any words here because I want those to be clean. So again, if we go back to the order form and we select all these things, we'll sign that. I want this to be as clean as possible. So I just don't want any additional text up there because it just clutters things up. Now if we go into the settings here for one of these, I'll show you what it looks like. This is basically all the conditions, like all these things have to happen for this calendar to populate, okay? Event details, this is what the email looks like. Like I mentioned, they receive 2 different emails. This is what populates into Google. And I basically just duplicated all these. It tells you how long the appointment time is, tells you what email address to send to, and this is the email address that they have in the field. And then I set my availability. So for this particular thing, which I believe is photos and video, no, this would have been photos plus Twilight. They can only select these options. If I want to add more time or different time slots, I can do 8 a.m. to, I don't know, 9 a.m. And I can save that and it'll just add that. And I just have to do that for each field. They can do appointments 30 days in advance. I need 8 hours notice. I can set how many appointments I want in a day, etc. You get the idea. But you have to build these for every single time slot that you want to configure. So again, there are countless different variations of things you can do. There's so many different options within Paperform that allows you to create unique custom forms. My real estate photography business in Minnesota is set up to where, based on the zip code they enter for their order, it will populate a different price for their travel fee. So there's different things you can do, and I probably haven't even tapped the surface of the different types of creative. And you're really only limited by your own creativity. I'm sure there's some limitations that you just simply can't do, but there's not many. You can also do like Zapier integration, so you can bring in other services that integrate with Paperform. It's just this is a very intense but very simple to use solution for building custom order forms. The other nice thing I like about Paperform versus some of the other services is that you can design this to look however you want. Within reason, whereas the other order forms, I can think of 3 different ordering systems off the top of my head that all pretty much look exactly the same. They're somewhat generic looking, whereas this one has a more custom feel to it. So hopefully you found this interesting and maybe something worth exploring for your own business. I can say that by having a custom order form, it's helped me with sales over the years. It's helped me do upselling because I'm not very good at selling in person. But when they can actually see the pricing on your order form and you don't have to try to sell it to them, they see that there's not much of a difference. They can see all of your offering. It's just a very passive way to help do upsells in your business. Super convenient, super easy to use. Again, let me know if you have any questions on this, or if you want to purchase one of the forms I've made, I can show you what I have available. And if you want to see this particular link or this particular form, I did create a clone, and there's a link to that in the description of this YouTube page. Thanks so much for watching. Be on the lookout for a new video series coming out soon that's going to talk about the big changes that are happening in my life and my business right now. Very exciting stuff, but very nerve-wracking at the same time. Those will be coming out very soon. I don't know when yet because things are a little bit hectic right now. Anyway, I'm rambling as usual. Thanks for watching, and I'll try to get some more videos out soon.